Okay, so when we are creating black and white pictures in Photoshop, we can also work with the dodge and the burn tool to lighten and darken certain areas. So what I want to do here is I'm going to begin, again, my background layer is locked, so I could unlock it or I could just duplicate my layer. So I'm going to come to Layer, Duplicate Layer, OK. And what I want to do now is I'm on the top layer. I always know which layer I'm on. So if I'm on this layer and I go and I try to start doing something, whoops, and it's moving for me because I have auto select on. But if I have this background layer selected and I try to do something, it's telling me that the layer is locked. So I need to make sure that that I have the layer selected that I want to be in. Now, an easy way to make sure that your mouse you'll move from layer to layer is just click auto select. And then what happens is, see, you'll move this your clicker. When you click something, it will automatically move you to that layer. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm on my top layer, okay, background copy, and I want to first turn it into a black and white, and then I want to work with the dodge and the burn tool to lighten and darken certain areas. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to come to layer, I'm going to come to image, adjustment, and I'm going to do black and white. Now, I want to do the black and white through here because if I did it through the adjustments window, I wouldn't be able to alter, I wouldn't be able to alter it and change the pixels like I want to do in this project. All right, so here we go. So we can lighten up the red a little bit. See, I want to lighten up this yellow. Okay, I definitely want to lighten up the blues. Okay, now I got this a little bit layer starting to look a little bit grainy. Okay, there's some of the magentas. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK, and I can see, overall it's still kind of dark and kind of a boring picture. So what I want to do is, oops, I want to come in and just alter some of these pixels. All right, so here goes. So when I come on over to my tools panel, I have the dodge and the burn tool. Okay, so I come to my dodge tool and I'm going to say highlights. Okay, and you can see this changes. Now, this image right here is the pixels. Okay, it's saying, okay, we're going to take 125 pixels and we're going to work with it that way. So if I lower this, I can see, oh, okay, this is less pixels. Whoops. All right, hold on, let's try this again. So I'm going to up my pixels. And what I want to do too is I want the hardness to be at 0%. So now I can come in and let's actually go for midtones. And I can just come on over to certain areas and see what happens is when I have this tool right here, the dodge tool, it's going to end up lightening certain areas. So I can just come in and just real subtly start lightening some pixels and start to get a little bit of a different feeling. Now, let's make this whole thing bigger. Let's say I wanted to lighten the whole sky. I could come in and just kind of run over top of it and start to lighten it a little bit more. Okay, now what you can do too is you can find yourself, a lot of times you'll find yourself zoomed in really close, and I could come on in here and lower my brush so that I can come in and get this area a little bit more so. And then we might find, now again, what's going to happen is the more you run over top of this, the brighter it will, the more that it will just keep adding to it. So for instance, if I go and keep running over top, see, it just kept adding to the lightness that was there. All right, so now let's actually take a look at another one. All right, so right now we have the dodge tool. And again, these terms dodge and light comes from how the method of photography worked in the darkroom. So in the darkroom, your pictures were developed through light. So you'd be in a dark room, literally, and if you've never worked with photography, and in order to lighten certain areas, you'd have to expose it to more light. And then with burning, you would expose it to less dark, so more dark, so then it would be darker. Okay, so I'm going to try the burn tool, and let's say that we wanted to darken a certain area. So maybe if I come on into, we'll say, why not, right? The grass is pretty dark actually, but let's say that we wanted to darken some of the highlights in here. Well, we could do that, right? And how we would do it is we have that one, and we could say, yeah, I'd say this is more midtones too. And I could run across with that tool, and you can see it's starting to show that. And I actually would even go a little bit smaller. This is actually a smaller resolution image. Not even wild about that one. All right, well, that kind of gives you the idea, though. So we can even come in. Let me zoom in and go for less pixels. Now, if I look at this image and I look at my image size, all right, this is a much smaller image. I could actually up it because right now it's at 300, and I could say, I always forget, I want to resample my image. So if I come to 300 pixels, that's exactly what I want. I want it to be 300 pixels, but I want it to be 6 inches by 5 inches. All right, so now I think I'll probably have more pixels to work with. Still don't like that one too much. All right, so, continuing to work with this. Oh, now we have our exposure too. So let's actually up this a little bit to 100%. Or we could lower it, and that just has to do with how quickly the color comes out. So if it's a little bit lower, actually you might find it a little bit easier to work with. It won't come out as quickly. And we want to make sure that we have our tones protected, and we can come in and see how we're just starting to add some of the dark into those pixels. We could come in, we could lighten up the water. Let's go through and lighten up the water. And again, what I want to work with to lighten this up is I want to come to my dodge tool, and I would say this is midtones. Let's actually lower the exposure to about 20 because I want it to be a little bit subtler, and I'm going to make my brush much bigger. Maybe even turn it up even maybe a little bit more to, like, say, why not? And now I can come in and start lightening it. Now, what's happening here though is you don't really see it all the way. Kind of like, what's happening? But if we do our edit, undo, we can get a sense of what happened. Edit, redo, dodge tool. Now, another thing that I want to bring your attention to is the history panel. So we come to window and we come to history. And our history, unlike in Illustrator, where we can go through edit, undo, edit, undo, edit, undo, and we can see everything that we've done, Photoshop is not going to be that way. And the reason is because it's a very memory intensive program. So instead, what we need to do is go into our history. Our history will continually save the last 25 steps that we take, and then after that, it's gone. All right, so I can go through and I can see, okay, this is all that I've done. So anytime, let's say I do something and I don't like it too much, well, I can come back and just start working from that point. Okay, so there's the dodge and the burn tool. And again, we can select, just an overview, we can select the dodge tool and the burn tool when we want to lighten or darken certain areas of our black and white photography. So it really is going to give us the option to create more contrast, a better range of value. Thanks so much.